Good evening, listeners, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fear the Queer,
a podcast that talks about everything on our gay agendas. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
And on tonight's episode, we will be discussing the book called
I Can't Date Jesus
by Michael Arceneaux.
Yes, so for those of you who don't know, Michael Arceneaux is a New York Times bestselling author. He wrote this book, when was it again?
July 24th, 2018, so it's been about a year.
A year. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
You're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I know this because...
I was just like, how do you know this?
I listened to his interview on NPR, and I thought, you know what? This is a book I want to read, so I pre-ordered it. It's the only book I've ever pre-ordered.
Wow.
I know, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, no, it was great. Well, actually, I'm going to steal a line out of your own book.
My own book?
Yes. Before we get into our gay agenda tonight, Kyle, what are we drinking tonight?
On tonight's episode, we are drinking
Holy water.
Oh, you also knew it.
Yes, but I don't know. I just didn't want to talk.
You were like, cheers, queers.
Cheers. The reason why it's holy is because it's graced with our presence.
This feels like a little bit blasphemous.
Oh, I was like, what?
You're like, what's a blasphemous?
Oh, yeah, I was just like,
a blast from the blasphemous.
A blasphemous.
That's good. And if you want to find out what's in our holy water, check out our Thirst Traps page.
I was going to say, you could mind your own fucking business.
Oh my God. It's funny because we're talking about God. Okay.
Anyway. So, but before we get into the heart of our gay agenda tonight, we are going to do another segment of
Catch That Queer, in which we talk about a person or group of people who has positively impacted the LGBTQ plus community, either in the past, the present, or looking towards the future.
Because we're clairvoyant.
Yeah. I'm a little amateur psychic.
Yeah, we know.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A dirty bit.
Dirty bit.
Black Eyed Peas shows up. Fergie's been sitting at this table this entire time. That's where
you didn't know. She actually was our third host.
She's our producer. Our producer, Fergie, do you want to say anything? No, she's quiet now.
She's shy.
She's shy. Anyways,
anyway, who are you catching tonight?
So we are catching that queer. Well, it's a group of queers tonight, and
group of queers.
It's a group of queers.
I wonder what that would actually be.
I was gonna be like, is that like a pack?
Yeah,
it's a school of queers.
A school of pack of queers.
What? A school of pack of queers?
A school of pack of queers.
School of pack of queers. I don't know.
They're all sissying, like
they're
to
all
the left, to the right,
to the left, to the left. So I was like, what would we be called? I feel like we would just be called the fucking queers.
Yeah,
like the group would just be like
a coven of queers.
Ooh, that's like a witch.
Thank you.
But not everyone's like a witch. Have you ever? Okay.
Anyway,
the group of people I am talking about tonight are the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgences. Do you know them?
No.
Have you heard of these sisters?
No.
Okay.
Are they the same sisters who sang in Sister Act? Because they are gay and iconic.
Oh my God. That is a whole nother topic. Yeah. But they are actually a group that was started in San Francisco, 1979 on Easter Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a group of...
Wait, what day?
Easter Sunday, 1979, San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
So it would have been a Sunday because Easter Sundays are on Sundays?
Well, no, I was going to say, I heard 1979. I was just like, never mind.
No, what were you thinking?
Well, I was just like, was it like 10 years after Stonewall, like on purpose? But no, that's just...
Oh, no, I mean, okay, well, good for you for trying.
I don't know.
No, I can say, okay. Well, let me tell you.
Okay.
So the sisters got together, and what they're a group of queer and trans people who are essentially nuns. Mm-hmm. And I got this from their website, thesisters.org. Mm-hmm. So they say on the website, we believe all people have the right to express their unique joy and beauty. They devote themselves to community service, ministry, and outreach for those living on the edges. And they also promote human rights, respect for diversity, and spiritual enlightenment. So essentially, they're like nuns, but they're not like churchy.
Okay.
But they are.
Churchy meaning like they're tied to like...
They're not tied to like a religious organization, but they do have like a doctrine.
Oh.
But it's not like out of a religious sense. It's almost like they're fighting for human rights, and you can actually become a sister.
Oh, Oh.
Yes, they continue even today. You can become a sister of perpetual indulgence.
Do you have to be a certain gender?
No.
Okay.
No, it's queerness.
Okay.
It's just queer. But they do a lot of like good work, and they during the 80s were like on the front lines when it came to the AIDS epidemic. They were also speaking out against sexism and fighting just in general against homophobia and transphobia. Mm-hmm. They do so by running like fundraisers, drag competitions, bingo.
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 Oh, sign me up.
Yeah, bingo was her name-o. What?
What?
But I don't know. This holy water.
Right.
So you can become a sister.
Right.
It takes about a year.
Okay.
And there's like 4 stages to do it, just like a regular nun. But yeah, they are continuing to just be out there spreading the word of gayness, I guess, in a sense. I had only heard of them from like, I think as like jokes. Well, actually, you know where I first heard them?
Where?
So I first heard of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence from the Netflix show, or like I don't want to say rebrand, but it was like the continuation of Tales of the City. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she was on that, and it takes place like in San Francisco. So the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, they show up for like a party scene, and I was like, who are they?
Oh.
So, and I just thought like, okay, well, we're talking about like a book that deals with like, you know, religion and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, this might be like a group that we want to talk about because they're taking like religious iconography and queering it.
Right.
Which I always think is kind of like a cool thing to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
And you said they have a website that you
They
can
have a
look at?
website, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's literally thesisters.org.
Okay.
You can look up some more of their history. You can look up like how to donate, fundraisers that they're doing, and how to become a sister. Like if you're in the San Francisco area, I guess. Mm. So, Josh, I have to tell you something.
What?
I'm moving to San Francisco to become a sister.
Oh.
Because
Hail, Holy Queen and throne above.
Oh, Maria. I don't know that anymore.
Oh, I don't know.
I just wanted to be like the soprano.
And now to the heart of our gay agenda. You know what's funny? I'm taking over all your lines today.
I know. Well, okay, so for the people who obviously you're not seeing us, so not the FBI agent watching us, but through our
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, that's my dad. Oh my God, that's my dad.
Well, also your dad.
So Josh is sitting on the side that I usually sit on, and do you feel like do you feel more like me?
I don't know. Fergie, what do you think? Okay.
She's so quiet tonight.
She's just so
Producer Fergie.
Right.
You know what? What if it was not Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, but Fergie, British Fergie?
Like royalty Fergie?
Yeah, royalty Fergie was our producer. Because you know what? We've been wondering where she's been at.
That's true. Anyway, so now to get to the heart of our gay agenda, I Can't Date Jesus. So like we said earlier, it's a collection of essays about the life of Michael Arceneaux. Michael is a gay black man who grew up in the Catholic Church and was raised in Houston, Texas. A little bit of backstory is that he graduated from Howard University in 2007, the first man in his family to do so, with a degree in broadcast journalism. And he has since gone on to write for publications like The Guardian, Rolling Stone, Teen Vogue, New York Times, BuzzFeed, and now the New York Times bestselling book. No, he wrote the book. Yeah, he wrote the book. Anyway, the stupid holy water, it's basically Everclear.
It's Everessence.
Yeah. It's everlasting God.
So, yes, he did write this book, I Can't Date Jesus, and which is, the tagline is, love, sex, family, race, and other reasons I put my faith in Beyonce.
Yes.
Which I always thought was, like, very suiting for us to read. Mm-hmm. So, as a kid, Michael struggled with the intersections of his identity. Like many queer people, Michael had a complicated relationship with the church, like we have.
Right.
So the title of his book came up in a conversation that he had with his mother, who opposes homosexuality. He simply said, "Ma, I can't date Jesus."
Right.
So, for the heart of our gay agenda today, we will be discussing the points made within the essays of I Can't Date Jesus. We've chosen essays, not all of them, but
We chose 4 to discuss tonight.
4 to discuss tonight that touch on...
Because guess what? This isn't a fucking audiobook.
It's not, but you can find them on audiobook. I looked it up. Yes. So they'll be done.
It was narrated by Fergie.
The British Fergie.
Yeah.
She's like,
It's just 3 hours of silence.
I'll cut date Jesus. So, to start the conversation off, because this is something that Josh and I have talked about. Josh, how long did it take you to read this book?
So I always make fun of Kyle because it takes him forever to read a book.
The only thing I'm quick at reading is other people.
Boo. Okay. Literally the other day, I was playing around with his book and he's just like, oh my god, like, don't lose my spot. I looked down. He was on page 2. Well, it was page 2 of the actual book. It was like page 30 because I read the introduction and acknowledgments, and then it was page 2 of the real book. Which I'm sure was just as boring as what you had to explain to us right now. Anyway, so it only took me basically a day and a half to read. Because it's a personal reflection and it was sort of episodic in structure. Mm-hmm. I felt like it was just very breezy to read through. Even though all of it has a very cohesive theme overall, it kind of seems like you're reading like screenplays of a sitcom almost.
Well, it's almost like reading like text from a friend.
Right, exactly.
Like when I first read this book, I had gotten it, I had started reading it, I had gone up north, and I kept thinking to myself like, oh my god, Josh needs to read this. And I was like, I know I can't get Josh to eat vegetables, but I think I can get him to read this.
I was like, is it fried?
The book is fried. So I finished reading it. It took me like a month to read it, but that's just me. Mm-hmm. I read really slow.
A month to finish?
A month. That's not to say that it's hard to read whatsoever. It's more so I just read slowly. I also reread things.
I was going to say, it's only like 200 pages.
Yeah, no, it's an easy read, which is not to say that Michael isn't a good writer. It's more so just, it felt like someone I knew, mm-hmm. and a lot of it felt like aspects of my own life that I've dealt with. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of like, oh, this is good. So after I finished, I was like, Josh, you need to read this. And how long did it sit on your bookshelf for?
Almost a year.
And how long did it take you to read?
2 days.
And literally, after the first day, Josh was like, we need to talk about this.
Yeah. We'll discuss why I really connect to this book and this author in general, but let's just dive into some of the essays that we read.
Let's do it, sis.
Yes, so okay. You'll start off.
Yes.
We'll just go ahead.
So the first, or more so an early essay in the book is called I See a Priest in You, mm-hmm. and it explores how, I don't know how to put this lightly, but he basically was being groomed to go into the ministry. So
right. Because he grew up in a
Catholic church, yeah. And as someone who I also kind of experienced that, and I'll get into that later. I just thought that was like a really interesting subject matter. Something that very early on in the book, I have my book right here with me, so I'm going to read out of it just briefly.
Ooh, go ahead, Mother Goose.
Thank you. So Michael says, for me to let go of the idea of God altogether would mean completely sinking to the level of cynicism and jadedness that could ultimately devour me whole. So when he starts writing this, he's obviously talking about like his relationship to a higher being, mm-hmm. and growing up in a very strict Catholic community is something that I think that, I mean, I didn't grow up Catholic, Josh did.
Yes.
But when you're in a religious setting, I think it's very hard to like completely dismiss the idea of a higher being. And he's talking about this as someone's approaching him to go into the priesthood.
Right.
And he's obviously struggling with like his queerness. And it just like struck me with like such, I don't know, it just was such a personal chord because he is dealing with being queer, being approached by someone, and the person who approaches him, so Michael is black, and the mm-hmm. person who approaches him is a black priest. Mm-hmm. So he felt a kindred connection to this person, because obviously at the time there wasn't a lot of black priests.
Right.
preaching. So I don't know. Speaking from my own personal experience, it feels like such a burden because when you know that you're queer, but you also have grown up in a super religious atmosphere, you don't want to like let God down, but you also are like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realize why I can't do this, but I can't do this. So in the essay, Michael is meeting with like priests and like going to college, and like they're getting him so prepared to become this priest and no one's getting it. Like, no one realizes how queer he is. And I just think that like the struggle, and he does it with such charm and
Like self-deprecation. Wit. Yes.
That there's another part that I really enjoyed where he is talking about Jesus. So he says, as for Jesus, I swung back and forth from that's my blank to treating him like a friend with whom I've fallen out because I hate a lot of his punk-ass friends, e.g. so many Christians, and never really had a proper sit-down with him to make amends. So for me, I always felt like, So for me, I always felt like that's kind of similarly where I was coming from in high school.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like, I don't think that Jesus is like necessarily a bad guy.
But I can associate myself with who you're friends with.
Well, you see the assholes who are claiming to follow him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do you remember this essay?
I do. It reminded me very much of how much pressure there's always put on, I feel like especially young men, to go into, to pursue more in the Catholic Church.
Yes.
Because obviously men are held to a higher standard in the Catholic Church.
Well, even at that, I feel like the Catholic Church, like not all churches, but the Catholic Church is very much male dominated.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael even talks about how like there's early like Christian cartoons that it's like, oh, everything was fine and dandy until that bitch Eve ate the fruit.
Right.
Like, and
God damn it, Eve.
Did you ever watch that stuff?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah,
I always just love it because too, like, Adam is always seen as like this rugged, like chiseled man. And Eve is always just like, oh my God.
Like, oh my God, I want a fruit. Right. And here we are.
Hey, Eve made the world way more fun. I will say that. Yeah, it reminded me of how there would always be like sort of hints, like if you were considered someone like deemable to become part of the Catholic Church, like it's just like, you need to get involved more. Your community would really enjoy like if you participated in this and that and yada yada yada.
And the essay presents some ideas when it comes to Michael thinking, okay, well, if I do go into the priesthood, if I do go into working at the church, maybe God would make me straight.
Right.
Because maybe somehow it'll cure me. Because like so often, like, I mean, have you seen those people who are like, oh yeah, no, I'm cured by the Holy Spirit. I'm not gay anymore.
Right.
And he clearly was struggling with this.
Well, who was that guy who did ex-gay conversion therapy, and it turns out he was still gay the entire time?
Yes, wasn't he?
It was based off of the story of Boy Erased that came out last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bad movie. Don't see the movie.
Yeah, don't see the movie.
It was, but you know what? The reason I would say don't see the movie is because it was so like triggering for me. It took me back to a lot of things that like, not necessarily conversion therapy because I never was in conversion therapy, but like kind of religious teachings that not so much my church, but my high school was teaching.
Yeah. But see, it just goes to show that like, so many things get brought up immediately when it comes to a gay man succeeding in the Catholic Church. They're just like, well, what about this? What about like conversion therapy? What about
because like and Michael says like he's not anti-God.
No,
it's more so he's conflicted because the people who claim to be promoting God and Jesus, they're just not everyone, because obviously I have a lot of people in my life who are religious and are not garbage humans.
Yeah.
But it does complicate things.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I feel like you are more black and white against people who are religious.
Really? What do you mean?
Not necessarily black and white in the sense of like you see them as only this or only that, but I do feel like you are less understanding of the ignorance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that, like, when it comes to, like, ignorance, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there are plenty of religious people who are very open-minded, very forward-thinking, and are not, bigots, that I kind of think, like, you know what? For every asshole out there, every Mike Pence out there who is just pure evil, look at the people who aren't. And who do say that they're Christians. So I don't know. I guess I have a little bit of leeway with that.
Yeah.
So Josh, what essay were you going to talk about? Because I know that you had chosen two that you were kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Michael doesn't always talk about religion in this book. Not everything is about spirituality. It actually just talks about just his life in general and his experiences as a gay man, as a black man, as a gay black man, as a gay black man who also was raised in the Catholic Church. So there's a lot
of intersections.
Right, exactly. So one essay that really stood out to me almost immediately was called The Place Is No Sanctuary.
That's a good one.
Right.
That's a really good one.
Yes. And the whole chapter, it kind of explores about how Michael has always struggled finding a barber that meets his expectations. Yeah. So, like, on the surface level, there's a lot of humor involved because he's just like, my God, like, I go to these hairstylists and they just, fuck up my hair. I tell them don't do this, and then I do it. And then everyone on the streets is like, oh my God, who did that to you? Like, stuff like that. But on a deeper note, Michael discusses how the barbershops were actually an unsafe space for him. So, let me just go throw out a few examples of what he talked about here.
Throw it out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, in his senior year in college, I guess one of the barbers in the shop that he would go to would rant about the gay clientele that would come in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he one time was ranting in front of Michael about how those... sorry if this offends anyone. If those faggots get in the chair and they stick their elbows out trying to rub their elbow against your dick and try to get it hard.
As Josh is saying this line, he's moving his elbow.
Yes. As if you could see what I'm doing.
Right.
Yes. Fergie, what do you think?
Okay. She's so quiet.
So the barber then went on to being like, oh, gay men should be forced to go to a woman's prison to get raped, Jesus. To become straight again. Yeah, it's just like, really... very ignorant, stupid things.
Yeah, super homophobic.
Yeah, super homophobic. Super homophobic. Super homophobic. So, break off to a question for you really quickly. Okay. Here. So, Michael then talks about his frustration and how that actually really got to him and how it broke him down and he cried out of frustration that day. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had experiences where it's just like, there have been days where it's just like, someone just fucking pushes your button and you just go into a tailspin.
Oh my God. Every day. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. Like, yeah. I feel like, not lately, but when I was growing up, I feel like in high school, there were things that I was not able to express to people. Mm-hmm. So I would end up crying by myself because I was just like so frustrated with either like comments that were made or just feeling like no one understood me. Mm-hmm. And then I would like come out of my room and be like completely fine. Mm-hmm. But it was not one like singular instance. I can't think of one lately where I'm like, wow, these people, I mean, it does get exhausting with the administration that we have right now. Mm-hmm. That sometimes I don't cry, but I do just feel exhausted. Right. Because it feels like not just me, but mm-hmm. so many people, so many marginalized people are being affected by it, mm-hmm. That I get tired. What about you?
Well, one of the more recent ones is when Donald Trump got elected. I remember mm-hmm. crying all that day, just being so angry and frustrated. But I remember a few years ago, I went home to Iowa. Mm-hmm. And a few of my friends and I just got together and we went to a friend's house and we were playing pool. Well, they were playing pool. I was watching on the sidelines because I can't play pool.
I'll keep score.
Right. So we're all just hanging out. We're just talking. And one of my friends, who I considered a really good friend at the time, missed a shot or something like that. Or mm-hmm. I can't remember. Someone made him fuck up a shot. Mm-hmm. And he turns just like, God damn it, you faggot.
And wait. What year was this?
2016. The summer before Trump got elected. Yeah. And... well, thankfully, everyone else in the room was just like, whoa, like, like, dude.
So, wait, everyone, that's good?
Yeah, because, well, one, they knew I was there. So, like, all of them were just like, whoa, dude, like, you know. And then second of all, like, he immediately apologized. Like, which is, like, I understand to an extent. I was just like, I understand, you know.
I'd be so mad.
You live in a small town, you know, you never left there, yada, yada, yada. I was trying to, like, say that over and over in my head.
You're, like, trying to rationalize it.
Yeah, but, like, in the end, because even though it isn't my good friend, I still got really frustrated with him, and I ended up crying that night because I was just like, even then, like, I was just like, what? Like, you know.
It's just bullshit.
It is. So
very similar to what Michael was going through in these barbershops.
Kind of, in a way. It was just more in the sense of, like, he couldn't feel safe even in a place like a barbershop.
Yeah.
And then he kind of, like, intersects it with, like, funny stories about, like, how he went to a Korean man one time. And
it was you.
It was me. And I was just like, sis, like...
you're like, I can't cut your hair.
I was just like, I can't cut hair.
But I'm going to dye it blue.
I was just like, I'll make chicken nuggets for you.
And then I'll eat them.
Yeah, in front of you. And then when he moved to New York to write more, he went to this place called Big Russ Barbershop, and he got his haircut with a man named Khaled. And he talks about this barbershop in particular because the barber who was working next to Michael was talking about sex and just in general, you know, how the machismo vibe of a barbershop and things like that. And Michael finally had enough courage, because he never used to before, but he mentioned to the barber, he's like, oh, I'm gay, and I've never had condomless sex before. Oh, that's what you're talking about, condomless sex. And Michael's just like, oh, like, I've never done it because I've been paranoid as a gay man because, you know, HIV scares and things like that.
Right.
And the barber then told Michael, he's just like, well, I hope one day you be able to have condomless sex because it's great. And Michael writes, that might have been the kindest thing that someone has ever said to him in a barber shop. I know. And so I'm just going to read some of this passage.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. For the first time ever, he writes, this shop allowed me a glimpse into how straight black men felt in the shop. For them, this was a place of community or even therapy. There are plenty of straight black men who have said to me that the barbershop is partially of where they learned how to be a black man in this world. But as a black man in this world who also happens to be gay, my past experiences will never allow me to share their sentiments. And that really just, like, touched me deeply, because I was just like, wow, like, it sucks, because even in a place that's supposed to be, like, a community and a safe space and something that you would consider almost... Because here's the thing for minorities. There's always something that you are allowed to say and claim as a safe space for yourself. And it's something that you have to work on with your community to be like, this is our safe space. This is what we claim as our own. And to be a minority and to still not have that, even when even when that place should be a safe space, it sucks. It'd be like going to, like, one of your favorite gay bars and yet still not being able to feel safe there because for whatever reason, you're not
right.
Yeah.
It's definitely a complicated relationship, but I think what's great about that essay is the moral of the story is, like, just find a sanctuary.
Yeah.
Like, that it doesn't have to, you'll find a sanctuary.
Yes.
It might not be that barbershop, it might not be that bar, whatever it is, but you'll find a place that will accept you.
Right. And hopefully keep in mind, for those of you who work in safe spaces or try to create safe spaces for everyone, just try to keep in mind that privilege works on so many levels.
Yes.
Even in regards to race, sexuality, gender, identity politics.
It's way more complicated than just, like, gay, straight, black. It's much more complicated because and you also don't know where people are coming from.
Right.
And I can't imagine sitting in a chair, having someone spout homophobic remarks, not being able to say anything, because also, what if they jack up your hair?
Right. You're just like I had a horrible experience and my haircut sucks.
And also, they were really homophobic to me and they gave me a hard part. Right. Like, it's just, like, not... I don't know. It just seems like it's like complicated.
A very bad time all around. So that was one of my favorite essays.
Yes.
Yes. Shall we move on to the third one?
The third one.
Which is called...
Josh and I both have on our list, so we're both going to talk about it.
Yeah. It's called Learning How to Hoe and Date and Failing at Both. Written by Kyle Parker.
written by me. Michael actually came to me and said, can I use the... No, I'm joking. obviously you can tell from me getting excited about this, but like I related so hard to this part.
Yeah.
Because there's so many layers to it. Like he's talking about, well, he just kind of presents a lot of little funny stories about dating that I felt were like really relatable. But he also brings up like the fear of sex. And like, I don't know if I've ever talked about it on this podcast, but I feel like it's taken me a really long time not to be afraid of sex.
Really?
Yeah, because like I think that in an earlier portion of the book, Michael talks about, you know, hearing the word faggot. And also it was because his father was talking about his uncle who had just passed away from AIDS. So being a young child and that's your first kind of like exposure to being gay or sexuality or any, you know, or sex, it's kind of, I don't know, it kind of puts you...
It puts you in a repressed state of mind.
Yeah. So I feel like until like recently, I just had this like, oh my God, like I'm dying. Like almost like hypochondriac, like I'm going to die. But Michael goes on to talk about just like how silly that is. And it kind of makes me go like, oh, well, if he can get through it, so can I.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was funny because, I mean, there's like, it's the essay's broken up into like 4 different parts and it kind of discusses his failed dating attempts over the years. Like there's one story about how he got very drunk on a first date, and when he sat down outside of the bar that they were at, he actually sat down in a fire ant colony. And like yeah, he got covered in fire ants.
That's not the kind of hot ass you want.
No, it really isn't. Well, it's funny because I was reading a lot of these and it just reminded me of all the crazy hookups that you have gone through in your life.
Oh my God. But they make for good stories that I've not written yet.
Yes. And then I guess for me on a personal level, I realized that a lot of people in my life have really funny hookup stories or like crazy hookup stories. And I realized that I never tell mine. I never actually talk about mine. And I had a whole episode earlier for an opportunity to talk about them.
And this one, she did not. You were like, I don't have bad hookups. And I don't know what was up with that. Were you not ready to talk?
No, I was going to say, here, let me rationalize things. Because I also was raised in a Catholic church and we never talked about
so
sex.
much Catholic guilt.
So much Catholic guilt
Yes.
that I've always been kind of trained to just not talk about that. You know, you just put it in the back of your mind, or you repress it, or you just like categorize it away.
Well, you don't do it when I tell you to talk about it on the podcast.
Right, I know. I was just like, God damn it, we're gonna re-record this.
No.
Actually, I want to reflect on 2 hookups really quickly.
I think that's perfectly because you know what, the whole essay is about these awkward, funny hookups.
Yeah, and now it's my opportunity.
This is Josh's opportunity to reclaim his bad hookup stories and not make me feel like I'm the only one out there who have had awkward, bad hookups.
Okay,
go for it.
So the first one, his code name is Golden Girls. So
okay,
yeah. So
we're gonna say Golden Shower.
No. We already talked about it in the kink episode. I'm not for that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So last summer, there was a midsummer festival in Andersonville in our neighborhood. Long story short, it's basically just a fun summer gay festival that is all about like dancing and having fun or whatever.
Well, and it's also like, it's Swedish because Andersonville in Chicago is also a Swedish festival.
Yes.
But it's also a huge gay community in Andersonville. So it's kind of like half Swedish, half LGBTQ.
Gay. So it's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. So I went there with our friend last year, and we were just kind of like wandering around the booths, and we were drinking, we were having a good time, and we got to the point where we were drunk enough where we were just like, let's go dance. Like, let's go dance at one of the venues or whatever.
Because it's literally dancing in the street.
Yeah. And so the DJ was actually playing a remix of the Golden Girls theme song, and it was like this dance remix. Yeah. And our friend was like living for it. He was singing along to it, dancing. Yeah. And it was like, do, 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 do. Yeah. I had no idea what it was. So I was just like, la! And
is this the new Beyonce?
Right.
Like,
so it was funny because we were talking about this later. Both of us noticed out of the corner of our eye that some guy was staring at us. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay, that's weird. And then all of a sudden he pulls up his phone and starts taking photos. And we're just like, oh my God, are we celebrities?
Oh my God. Well,
Yeah, like
That'd be so weird.
We're both like drunk and we're both airy, so we both think like we're amazing. So we're just like, oh my god, they're taking photos of us because we're the
wild.
Well, because we're the only ones dancing too.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so I could tell my friend was about to go over and talk to him.
Was he cute?
Yeah, he was cute.
Do I know who this person is?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was just like, actually, you know what? I'm going to talk to him.
Josh!
I know. So I actually kind of pushed past my friend and went up to him. I was just like, hi, I'm Josh.
She was feeling her out.
Yeah, and he's like, hi, I'm Golden Girls.
You're like, okay.
And so I grabbed him and I put his hand on my ass and I was just like, come dance with me.
And he's like, what is this?
So we start dancing and we start feeling each other up like in the street.
In the middle of the street?
Yeah,
like
well, because
like
a common whore. Because I reached up his shirt and I just felt like a washboard.
I thought you were going to say, and I felt a third nipple.
Yeah, no, I felt washboards. I was just like, oh my god. I was just like, you're ripped. And he's just like, oh, thanks. And we were dancing. I know.
You're ripped. Thanks.
Yeah, gay compliments. So, okay, long story short, we took a photo together. He got my number. And then at the end of all of it, he was just like, I hate to tell you this, but I have a boyfriend. I was like, oh, damn it. So, didn't think of anything of it. 6 months later, he messages me. I didn't save his phone number. And he's just like, hey, I'm not sure you remember me, but I'm the guy you danced with at Midsummer. My boyfriend and I opened up the relationship. Did you want to go on a date sometime? I'm just like, oh, okay, sure. And I thought he was really cute. And and we got drinks beforehand. He was telling me his version of the story. He was like, oh, I saw you at the festival. I thought you were fucking adorable. I took a photo of you because I really wanted to save it. And I was like, in hindsight, that's kind of creepy.
That is so creepy.
Yeah, in hindsight, that's creepy.
I'm also a creepy person, but that's creepy.
I mean, his personality kind of made it seem like, oh, that's fitting because he's very much like, hi.
But
like,
attractive.
Yeah, but attractive.
Sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm down with the get down.
You sounded so old.
Yeah, I know.
I'm down. Hello, young people.
Hello, young people. I'm down
people.
with the get down.
Oh my god.
So anyway, we go back to his place and we make out.
With your mouths?
Yes, my mouth wrapped around some other things. Slut.
Salacious.
Slut. But I also realized that the date was really dull because for a half hour he showed me around his apartment and showed me all his fucking lights that he had as an apartment and how you can remote control them and how each light reflects a certain mood in the apartment.
Keep talking. To me, I feel like maybe he was doing that because he was waiting for you to make a move.
Well, I was just like, oh.
I mean, have you ever been in that situation where someone's like trying to show you around the apartment, but really all they want to do is be like, hey, I'm trying to be like subtle and nice. Like, look at this apartment. How nice is it? And when they really just want to make out with you and like get things started.
Then make out with me.
Maybe he wanted you to take the lead.
Which I did eventually. I was just like, okay, I'm bored.
You're like, after 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all said and done, the next day, he doesn't add me on any social media except LinkedIn. I don't know why. Yeah.
Business opportunity.
I guess. And he was cuter in the photo because he actually had hair. And when I went on a couple dates with him, he had a shaved head. Not that that's bad looking, but he looked way better with hair.
Well, maybe cool for the summer. Who knows?
Anyway, 3 days later, after the whole spiel of like, oh, I opened up my relationship with my boyfriend, like yada, yada, yada. He tells me, he's just like, I'm sorry, I'm too much of a jealous person. My boyfriend came home with another person. I couldn't handle it. Can we remain friends? No. And I was just like, no.
You're not interesting enough to remain friends.
Yeah, I was just like, no. Like, because I'm just imagining going over to your house and you just show me what cool lantern you got that day.
Okay, but what if they had an open relationship and you were invited and this other person it was like a 4-way? Would you sit in the living room and you're just like, wow, you do have some cool lights.
Right. Like they actually threw in the bedroom and was like, wow, this is remote control.
Which like, I mean, I've been there where friends are hooking up in bedrooms and I'm just sitting there like actually
eating
passing
your
out.
Pizza rolls.
Okay, I devoured them and they were delicious. Mm-hmm. So you never talked to this person again though, right?
No, I actually told him, I was just like, oh, I'm not interested in being just your friend. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean like,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Like, I'm friends with, like, people who I would consider exes or, like, whatevers. But I find them interesting. So if you don't find someone interesting, don't do it, girl.
Yeah. So that was one of my versions of trying to be a hoe and failing at it. But he still has me on LinkedIn. So do your research, podcasters.
Trying to...
I need to update my LinkedIn, actually.
You're like... Well, I'm glad you've come to that reasoning.
Yeah. After all this, I've realized that my LinkedIn needs to be updated.
The picture.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Any comments on that essay anymore?
I'm just like, no, I would say, out of all the essays that are written in I Can't Date Jesus, I feel like it's something that, like, he talks about this guy that he wasn't too sure about the guy's, like, race. So he talks about, like, the guy's race, and that's an interesting discussion. He talks about this guy who, help me out here, sis.
What?
I'm trying to remember.
Oh, how he calls him, like, Asian Paul Wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a part in the essay where he talks about how he mistakes what he originally thinks is this biracial guy with braids who kind of looks like an Asian Paul Wall. Turns out he's just Filipino, and he just had braids because he is in Houston, Texas.
And that was just, like, something about... So you learn actually quite a bit about, like, Houston culture.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool because, like, I feel like...
Because he talks about growing up there in his childhood and his life, and there's a lot of deep, rich culture in that area.
Definitely.
And I can totally see why Beyonce, like, loves it so much.
Which is a
Speaking
great
of which...
segue. Did you do that on purpose?
I did!
You know, sometimes I can't tell if it's on purpose or not, but
Okay, so the final essay that we're going to talk about tonight, because we're not going to give it all to you, because, again, we're not an audiobook.
This is just a tidbit. This is just a tasting, a little...
So, there's an essay called My Lord and Gyrator. And
which is about Jesus.
Yes, exactly. So, overall, Michael is talking about how, as a gay black man, he felt like he couldn't really connect to his father or his brother to kind of guide him through life.
And his mom was very judgmental about being gay.
Right. And so the only thing that you really could turn to get references in life is pop culture, which I feel like is very relevant to a lot of us.
Oh, definitely.
Except
just
for
like,
you didn't have cable.
No, I was into the pop culture of the 60s and the 70s. Mr. Lawrence Welk, have you heard of him? Have you heard of Mr. Lawrence Welk?
Because he finally was able to get a record. Like, that's how long it took for you to get it.
Oh my God. Okay, keep going. I have an entire story about getting a record. Did you know this?
You what?
So when I was 18, I asked my mom if I could get a record player for Christmas, and she got me a record player, and I was ecstatic. And she got my sister an iPod Touch. But that's
like,
what
I'm
I
imagining, like, you as a kid, like, Kelsey's, like, very bright, colorful, like, modern looking, and you're, like, pure sepia tone.
No, I looked like a very, like, I loved vintage Western clothes. I should post some pictures on our Instagram.
Yeah. Anyway,
so Beyonce, connecting to pop culture.
Yeah, so
tell me more.
So he says the whole essay is basically dedicated to Beyonce and how he connects to her as a performer, as an artist. And he does it way more, in a way more articulate and beautifully said manner than we did. I will say it took us a whole episode to say something, but he's also a bestseller
He's
author.
also a writer.
Yeah. So, a little bit of backstory.
I can barely write my taxes.
Right? So, a little backstory. He grew up in the same area as Beyonce did. So, a lot of her music and the choreography are nostalgic for him because it just reminds him of him growing up in Houston. One night, he goes out with his friend to the club, and they're playing Beyonce on the way there. And one of his friends in the backseat of the car, do you remember this? She was just like, "Oh my God, Michael, you dance like such a faggot." And which we've all been there. Like, it's just like, even if for whatever reason you're out, if you're not really 100% comfortable with your homosexuality, hearing that you look, act, sound like a faggot, you're just
it takes a couple years.
Yeah, you're just like, fuck.
You're like, what?
One
more time. Okay, I don't like it anymore.
Because I feel like unless you're 100% secure in who you are as a person, you will always feel a little bit insecure, like a little bit.
Or your environment.
Yeah,
you could be a very secure person and feel insecure in the environment that you are.
Environment.
Yeah.
That's true. You will always be thrown off when someone points out your gayness. like he said, like he was like, I didn't want anybody to see any gay indicators of me at the time, so hearing that really threw me off. But he remembers that her B-Day album, particularly songs like Lose Your Mind and Back Up, which that's when I fell in love with him, because I'm just like, these are deep cut album tracks, and
It took you to the end of the book for you to fall in love with him.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I was just like, that's when it threw me over the line. I was just like, oh my God, I love this
You're
guy.
like ass up in the air like Michael.
Yeah, I was just like, Michael!
Oh my
Twerking on the
God.
wall. But
You can do that.
Well, he's saying that her B-Day album helped him gain like inner strength to let that insecurity of his gayness go. I'm actually going to read a quote of what he said.
You read it.
It's paraphrased, but he did say, I wish I could tell Beyonce how her femininity made me comfortable with the parts of me that read as feminine, and how I find that to be a source of strength, maybe even more than the other side, because masculinity is never put down the way femininity can be. And that just touches me in a lot of ways, because I also connect to Beyonce in a lot of way of embracing my femininity. I feel like you have to somehow get over that hump of being like, you know, I am not exactly 100% like macho masculine.
And when you do, though, the thing is, like, when you do, because I feel so in our society, we are told that like masculine people are better than feminine people. Even, I mean, look at our government.
Right.
Even our government, people who are female or feminine are looked down as less than those who are masculine or read as men. So for these pop stars and pop culture, for Michael, it was Beyonce. For, you know, it's such an empowerment of spirit that it's like, okay, I can be feminine. I can own those feminine qualities within her, because everyone has feminine and masculine qualities within themselves.
Right.
You know, it's like no one is like one set of the binary. They're all like this wonderful loosey-goosey mixture of things.
Right.
And I think that in that essay, he's really talking about having Beyonce she saved him.
Right.
She is the Lord.
Right.
And she's the Lord and gyrator.
Yep, exactly. So I connected to Michael about his shared love of Beyonce and how she helped him overcome a lot of stigma that he wasn't comfortable to take care of for himself yet. And I feel like everyone has that person in their life that they're just like, thank you.
Person,
for being
pop culture, movie,
Yeah.
music, whatever. It's like you're going to find something that you're like, okay, I'm given the opportunity. I'm given like permission to be who exactly I want to be. So
And it is a bridge troll.
It is a bridge troll. I'm more like a treasure troll. I just want a gem in my belly button, like a little belly button gem, little navel piercing. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
So this book has been, you know, something that Josh and I have both enjoyed a lot. And if you know both of us, we bicker on when things are good and bad. So when we actually agree on something, whether it's movie, music, book, TV, whatever, we're like, oh.
Sex toy.
Oh, what? Okay. Can I just say, we open the floodgates. We open the floodgates for Josh to talk about his bad hookups. And now every episode, we should have a new segment, Josh's bad hookups.
Right.
But you don't have them anymore.
any.
You don't have any. You're just like, I don't have any. Kyle, talk about yours. I'm like, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But
no,
my-
I will say, I think this book, I Can't Date Jesus, is phenomenal. Especially,
Who would you recommend this to?
I would recommend this to my Iowa friends, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say to all my Iowa friends at home who are listening, who want a good read I Can't Date Jesus. Because, I mean, the beautiful thing about this book in general is just like, it's another reminder that universal themes can be told through different perspectives, and it's still relatable. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has gone through bad hookups. Everyone goes through awkward situations where they don't feel comfortable about themselves. Everyone goes to pop culture to look for someone to be like, oh, I want to be like them one day.
And everyone, I think also like going back to like the church stuff.
Yes.
Like, even if you aren't growing up in a church, the idea that like you might break away from what your parents always thought that you would or could be is something that's important.
Yes.
Like we obviously
And it's
have,
also a common thing that people go through.
right. Like we're all dealing with like family issues or
Yes.
like, you know, spiritual issues, whatever it might be. And I just think it's like really refreshing to have someone who is part of our community talk about that. Because
Right.
I feel like, you know, like you said that I'm very black and white. I feel like there is a lot of gray area at the same time.
Yeah.
When it comes to like spirituality and queerness.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, everyone go out and pick up I Can't Date Jesus, Love, Sex, Family, Race, and Other Reasons I Put My Faith in Beyonce.
Yes.
And who's it by?
Michael Arceneaux.
That's right.
Yes. I Amazon Primed it. It came in like 2 days. It's just such a great book. It's very light read. Don't listen to Kyle. Won't take a month to read.
No, but no, again, I was rereading things because I think that it's really, like, what I like is books that are built on just essays because you can reread those essays. Like one of my favorite authors is David Sedaris, and this reminds me a lot of David Sedaris. So if you like David Sedaris, if you're not sure who David Sedaris is, check David out too.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Michael right now.
Yes.
So
great comeback.
Yeah, thank you. I know. So everyone check out Michael.
Yes.
And his book.
Yes.
You can also follow him at Young Cynic.
Yeah,
on
that's
Instagram.
Young Cynic.
Young Cynic. Oh my God, I can't say it.
Okay, follow him at Young Cynic
Cynic
on Instagram. And Cynic is spelled Sinick.
Right, like
Yes.
Sin-ick.
Thank you,
Or
Kyle.
C-nick.
No.
Like
Anyway,
C as in yes.
speaking of following on Instagram,
Yes.
remember to follow us on Instagram.
Look at you.
Yes.
Okay.
We are Fear the Queer Podcast. You can also subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, or what's the last one? SoundCloud. Yes.
Are we on anything else? You know what I keep hearing? I keep hearing Stitcher. What's a Stitcher?
I don't know. I keep hearing Castbox. What's that?
I don't know either.
I don't know. We're everywhere now. You can also like us on Facebook, even though I'm going to call Facebook out right now.
Go off.
Yeah, they banned our they banned our advertising program or whatever we do.
Okay,
it. Yeah.
so like complete
What is
like
it called?
side note. So the algorithm that Facebook and Instagram runs on has been continuously silencing like queer voices. Maybe you've experienced this if you're a queer person. Maybe you have friends who have experienced this. If you haven't, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's complete malarkey, and I can't handle like it pisses me off so much. So I feel like
so
we've been dealing with that a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say Facebook had messaged me because I reached out and be like, why aren't my advertisements being accepted to be able to reach out to other people? Because we want to grow as an artist and things like that. And they're like, well, your podcast and your artwork, go against community guidelines.
Which I thought was so rude because it was just our faces.
Right, I'm just like, you calling us ugly, sis?
And you know what?
So you know what? Don't even like us on Facebook because Facebook's bullshit anyway.
Well, okay. Well, I am going to take the mic, because Beyonce had the best album of all time. Please like us on Facebook because that will help with the algorithm, but also like us on Instagram and all that good stuff.
I guess. Anyway, I'm Josh.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're Fear the Queer. Bye.